Hey there guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about Clash of Wills Another, the new mode to Clash of Wills we just got on Global. It's not really a new mode, it's just a few changes they've made to Clash of Wills. So you might have seen that I haven't really posted much about this weekend. If you were there for my live stream on Thursday, you saw that the new mode is basically kind of frustrating. And after working on it both in the live stream that morning and then for a few hours Thursday evening later on, it kind of like just really turned me off to the mode, and I just kind of haven't fooled with it all weekend. I was going to just kind of ignore it the whole week long, but a few people have asked me, where's your videos on it, what's going on, etc. And it was suggested that I talk about it in a video, so that's where we are right now. And again, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. So during this video, I'm going to try to stay on point and on topic, and I'm going to give basically a laundry list of reasons that I think this new mode is not very good or very fun. Okay, so we're going to be using this neat little tool just so I can write on screen and make like a little flow chart, etc. It's not pretty. It's just a free online text editor. I'm definitely not the guy you come to for flashy, high-quality editing videos. But anyway, we're going to be using this to just list out some of the issues with Clash of Wills. So we're going to start off with one of the bugs. It's Clash of Wills. There's usually a bug. We've got another bug. It's kind of like an older bug where the game will soft lock in Clash of Wills. This has been around for quite a while. It's usually not very common. Most of the time, it'll happen when you open the morale gauge during an LB. I've kind of learned that will soft lock the game. It seems to be way worse in this Clash of Wills, and that is one source of frustration, is while working on it Thursday evening, I was getting the game to soft lock very often, and it's irritating because it kind of like ruins your attempt. So, soft lock bug is one of the main things. So I have mostly troubleshooted or figured out that the cause of it is when you're using the morale skills. If you're opening the morale bar and using the skills, there's like a 50-50 chance your game will just soft lock and the boss will never end, the turn will never end. There's a lot of posts about it on Reddit, etc. But that's a technical bug. Obviously, that was not intended. I realize that. But intended or not, it's there. And that just adds frustration. So we're going to get that out of the way first. I realize that's not like a feature of the mode. But when you're working on a boss fight and you get to like turn 5 or 6 and then you open the morale bar because maybe you have to use the morale bar for like a healing or the stat buff or the really big one to cure a zombie, and you open the morale bar and it locks it up. The fight is done. You have to retreat. You're done. You can't go on. You can't use the morale bar because it locks the game up. That's frustrating. That's terrible. So, yeah, the game locking up is a major problem. But that's just one small thing on the mountain. So the next thing is limited vertex skill availability. Okay, so there's basically 2 units for the vertex skills. There's Mirai and there's Esther. If you pull from Mirai, you've got a decent unit that can do the vertex skills. I don't want to pull from Mirai. I kind of went over my reasoning during her preview video. I just don't want the unit Mirai. She's not that appealing to me. Like, she's okay, but she's not good enough. And she's got some major problems with her rotational skills that I kind of covered in the preview video slightly, but I got shown that it was a much bigger problem than I had first realized. She can't even use all her skills. Anyway, beyond that. So pretty much you have to use Mirai or Esther. And Esther is doing nothing for this Clash of Wills. Absolutely nothing. She has a 120 Reaper Killer and she can like be your provoker. That's where it ends. She can't tank this. I'm saying can't. I couldn't make it work. Maybe someone at some point will show an Esther solo tanking the fight. I'll be impressed. I don't think it's going to happen, but, it could. It could. I couldn't make it work. I could not get my Esther to solo tank the fight. I had to bring in a magical tank. So Esther can't tank the fight. She can't realistically deal damage. For one thing, her LB removes your fields. Imperil fields are kind of a big deal. Of course, you can work around it with like delayed chains, having her go last and set up in advance, etc. Like you can, technically speaking, work around her field problem. But with so much going on in this fight, you really just can't dedicate your rotation to work around Esther's problems. So the reality is you're just not going to use Esther's LB, period. Because it's going to ruin your field. Unless you have no other field on your party, then of course, who cares? But yeah, so she's not, and even if you were using her LB, her damage is so low, it's almost insignificant. So really, Esther is just a dead slot on this month. And you have to take her. It's her or Murray, who I'm not pulling for, and a lot of people didn't pull for. And even if I did pull for Murray, even if I did pull for her, because they took away her shards are no longer in either the Lapis shop, the 5K for 50 shards. They're also not in the replica Lapis shop. So even if I pulled for her, went to pity, and got 50 fragments from the banner coins, those are still there, so you can get them from banner coins. That would leave me with 30 login, 20 from the 2,200, and then 50 from the banner shop. I would still not have an EX2 Mirai, even if I went to pity, unless I pulled more during the step up. So I'm not going to pull from Mirai for Clash of Wills because it's too big of a gamble. I might go 45,000 and still have an EX1 Mirai, which is unusable. You can't use that for a all modifier clear. So I'm not pulling for her. Even if that wasn't the case, I still wouldn't pull for her because she's not that good, or not good enough for me. So I have to use Esther, who is doing nothing in the fight. She can't damage, she can't tank, she just sits there. She has no real utility other than a 120 Reaper killer. That is the only thing she brings to this fight, and nothing else. She can do things like sing Zidane's STMR, I guess, or you can give her like the Kurega spell with a modifier gear and make her a healer. But not really, because zombies coming. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. But yeah, so basically you are forced to do the fight, must do the fight with 5 units effectively if you don't have Murray. And that's like a major handicap. It's a major handicap. As of the time of me making this video, on Saturday, basically Sunday morning. I'm up very late. Basically on Sunday morning, I have not seen a single rank 1 clear using Esther. I've seen perfect scores with a modifier or 2 off. Some people are doing like level 95 or something, which is a lot weaker boss because the stats scale exponentially as you go higher in ranks. So I've seen lower modifier or lower level clears using Esther. I have, at the current time, as of Sunday morning, I have not seen a single rank 1 clear using Esther. Every rank 1 clear uses Mirai. So 1 unit. You're locked into 1 brand new unit who you literally cannot even guarantee EX2 on day 1 without spending extra cash. You could of course spend $100 for the 50 shards in the cash shop. I mean, that's kind of crazy, but yeah, that's a major problem. Let's continue. Another problem is, how can I say this? And there, disparity between Focus Plus and Focus skills. So we're talking about the difference between using either Noctis or Tyvis. Things like that. So there's only a few units that have the Focus Plus skills. It's by memory, like Noctis, Prompto, and a bunch of units you're not going to use, like Ignis, Gladiolus, etc. I don't remember if Ramza has the plus or the minus, but we'll talk about that more in a minute, because Ramza is the wrong element, basically. Basically. You can use Earth, but we'll talk about that. So yeah, so the Focus Plus skills to fill the gauge do 3,000. The Focus skills do 900. Also, as far as what the actual modifiers are, let's jump over here real quick. Focus abilities. And there's also a modifier boost. So the Focus Plus modifier boost is 100 modifier, and only 20 for the older version. And the older version is units like, again, Tyvis, other royal units like, Cecil, Chizuru, etc. And then, of course, tons of units just don't have the Focus ability, period, like everyone else. So you're already forced to take one unit, which is Esther or Mirai. For the majority of people, that'll be Esther. Then you're forced to take more units to fill the focus gauge. So Noctis and then Prompto are the only two with Focus Plus that are meaningfully impactful during this Clash of Wills. Other units have it, like Gladio, etc., but they're just almost dead slots as well. Ignis, stuff like that. So really just Noctis and Prompto for the Focus Plus. And if you don't have a Focus Plus skill, like at all in the party, meaning if you don't have Noctis or Prompto, it's going to take you, depending on how many of the older units you have on the party. If you just have like one, like let's say you just have Deity of War Typhus for 900 a turn, it's going to take something like 7 to 9, I don't know the exact amount, but it's something like between 7 and 9 turns just to fill the focus gauge, which is insane. Insane. So you almost have to have a Focus Plus unit. So you basically need to have either Noctis or Prompto. And again, I'm sure people can figure out ways to get around this problem. But at the end of the day, it's still very heavily pushing you in that direction. Another major issue here is mages are massively penalized. So, as this is not new, but we've seen this before. The boss does mitigation to physical and magic, as well as a spirit buff. Now, the physical mitigation can be dispelled. The magical mitigation and the spirit buff cannot be dispelled. You can use Magnus abilities like Kaito or Rick's one-time skill to get rid of the spirit buff temporarily, but other than that, it's there. Now, every third turn, they're also gone naturally, so that will give you a window to burst no matter what, with mages, with no penalty. But again, that's not really a viable option, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But the reason is, so turn 3, you're not really going to be set up and ready to burst. Turn 1 and 2, you're basically stabilizing the fight, and you're still going to be in Mania mode for the most part on turn 3. And in Mania mode, the boss has enormously higher stats. On turn 6, the boss cures, or on the end of turn 5, the boss removes all his debuffs. So you're going into turn 6, you have no debuffs on the boss. Meaning, depending on your party, that might not be a problem. But for a lot of parties, that's going to be a major problem. Meaning you're going into turn 6 and you just can't burst because you don't have like your imperils up, your weapon imperils, your breaks, etc. Again, that's dependent on your party. If you've got like Prompto in the party, he can kind of put all that back up at the same time as he's doing his burst. So really, you've only got turn 9 to do a full-powered burst for mages. They get one turn in the fight. Whereas physical units, if you're dispelling the boss, can damage every single turn. Because as long as you dispel the boss with a perfect dispel, the physical damage dealers have no penalty because he has no defense buff, and the physical mitigation that he puts up frequently is dispellable. So it's just like a really major handicap. And the reason this is irritating is units like the boss is weak to darkness. Well, Void Mage Roka is massively penalized because she gets basically one turn of unmitigated damage, or possibly turn 6 if you can do the re-breaks and all. If you're using Ibarra, now the magical mitigation won't bother Ibarra, but the spirit buff is going to be a huge penalty for Ibarra. If you're using Ayaka for the ice clear, ice is a primary weakness. Well, Ayaka is going to be heavily penalized. If you're using Deity of War Tyvis and trying to do his meteor type skill, that's a magical skill, it's getting heavily penalized. So like some of our best options for the elements are just kind of off limits. Now not literally, because you can force them onto the party and work around these problems, but these mechanics are put in to basically force you to not use some of the best options and only use the brand new options like Noctis and Mirai, etc. And it's irritating. It's annoying. Like, why are they heavily penalizing mages? Another issue is, this is kind of more up here, but can't multicast focus skills. I should have done this after the focus skills. But yeah, so again, I'm just listing all the problems. Some of these problems are not as big as other problems, but they're still problems. So the focus abilities, you can't multicast any of them. They are literally all single cast, meaning you cannot put up the instinct and the focus buff at the same time. That means you can't use the mitigation with other stuff. That means you have to waste at a minimum 2 entire turns for your focus units. The fight only gives you 10 turns. Honestly speaking, you really only have 9 turns because you need to kill it by turn 9 or it's kind of messed up. Yeah, we'll talk about why more in a minute. So really, you've only got like 9 turns on this fight. And you've got to give 2 of them entirely to single casting the focus abilities. You got to turn on the focus skill, and you don't have to, but you really want to use the instinct buff for the modifier boost. That one's, I guess, technically optional, but it is definitely worth doing. And then another thing is, this is hilarious, if your units die, they lose their focus abilities. Isn't that fun? Isn't it? That might be a bug, I don't know, but if it's not, wow. This whole system was untested, not thought out well, and it's like, as a player, as I was going through and discovering all of these problems on Thursday evening, it just made this whole mode more and more frustrating to even deal with. Yeah, like when I found out I couldn't even multicast the focus skills, I was like, what? I've got to like literally waste entire turns, because in my earlier clears, I was using Noctis as my Mirage unit. Well, guess what? He can't Mirage when he's casting his focus skills and his instincts. That's 2 turns. I just lose Noctis. I lose his utility because he can't multicast these skills. And he's got to cast them. You got to cast the focus skill. It's annoying. Another issue is zombie every 3 turns. So, the boss will cast zombie every 3rd turn. On turn 3, 6, and 9, and then, of course, more, but that's beyond rank 1. Why is that a problem? Well, who can cure zombie, first of all? So, Melissa. Melissa can cure zombie, and she's a great unit. But her AoE re-raise ability means you realistically cannot take Melissa. You would have to do something like having your entire party get killed off to remove the AoE re-raise, and then because the zombie is reapplied every 3rd turn, that means you can't use Melissa's Limit Burst, which is one of the main reasons you would want to bring her, is for the LB, for that 80% mitigation, possibly the cooldown reduction and all that. But because of the re-raise and the zombie every 3 turns, you can't really bring Melissa. Who else can cure a zombie? Kresnik can. What does Kresnik bring to the fight? Not really anything. So the morale generation on this fight is basically a guaranteed because the boss literally fills his morale gauge for you. So just like Esther, Kresnik is kind of a dead slot. You don't need his morale generation, and all he does is cure a zombie. What's the other option? You cure a zombie from the morale gauge. For one thing, that's not even available until turn 7, meaning you're going through turn 4, 5, 6, and 7. No, turn 4, 5, and 6 with no zombie cure. And it's doable, but that is just like a shot in the dark because of the boss's RNG, which we'll talk about more about that in a minute. But going like 4 turns or 3 turns with no healing whatsoever, that also means you can't use anything like counters, you can't use anything like regeneration, you can't use anything like the Clash of Wills salvation armor, or whatever it's called, the armor that auto-casts the AoE barrier and heal per turn. You don't want to use things like Abigail's TMR, because all of these auto-cast healing, and that'll just get you killed. Assuming you're surviving in the first place, because the boss is dropping out these enormous nukes, and etc. And even if you could survive through the zombie until turn 7, well, guess what? You still can't use the morale bar because it'll soft lock your game. It'll lock up your game. Are you seeing the reason this Clash of Wills has so many problems and it's so frustrating? We're not even done yet. We're about halfway through the list we're going to be making. So yeah, zombie every 3 turns. And by the way, no one else can realistically cure it. Like Lotus Mage Fina, Kalmia. You're not taking these units to cure a zombie. So you got to just deal with zombie. Or, and this is what people have been doing, or you kill the fight on turn 5. We'll talk more about that in a few moments. Another major problem, another reason you kind of sort of have to do a turn 5 win is on turn 5, boss dispels self at start of turn, then attacks you. Do you see the problem here? Every 5th turn, the boss will dispel his own debuffs. But because I'm going to do my absolute best to be respectful and not drop petty insults. But for whatever reason, they didn't realize it. I don't know. But the order of actions of the boss, he is removing his breaks at the start of the turn instead of the end of the turn. Meaning, on turn 5, the boss is doing all of his attacks with no breaks whatsoever. Completely unbroken. Now, is that possible to survive? Depending on RNG, yes. I should have put the RNG problem higher in the order. But yes. So the boss's attacks, there's a few scripted attacks per turn, and the rest are all RNG. So let me go ahead and pop over here. Let's look real quick. So on turn 5, that would be the second rotation. Every 5 turns, removes all debuffs from caster up here at the start of the turn. Then he's going to do turn 5. That'll be the second turn. So the boss will do a self-heal, a dark damage, a blind, a break, a cover. This is a cover ignoring dark attack on the party, an emote. We don't care. And then right here, this is the big one. At the end of the turn, this is every turn, by the way, he uses the following until 20 moves in total have been used. So all these skills up here count as a move. These all count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's going to be, after all the early turn stuff, plus 6 of these. The boss has something like 10 actions remaining at this point. So the boss will go through this list of 10 actions. Chakra Wave is a 20% chance, Silent Strike 30%, etc. So Chakra Wave right here is the big killer, as well as Blade Dance. So Chakra Wave is a 10x non-elemental, meaning you cannot immune this. Non-elemental magic attack AoE. And it hits really hard. Like, Abigail can tank, like, one of these, maybe two, with no breaks, and then she's dead. And the boss can use, like, 7 of these in a turn. Do you remember the Derp Dragon, Aldaba? They didn't learn their lesson. We're back to RNG Wave. They even literally called it Chakra Wave. So, like, they called it Wave. Remember Chromatic Wave, Chakra Wave? I swear to you, I don't want to jump on conspiracy theories, but it almost feels like someone is being spiteful and making an inside joke at the player's expense by putting this in here. Because they literally named it after the old problem Chromatic Wave, and it does the same thing. This can cast like 15 times a turn. If, you know, it's almost never going to cast that many times, but it could. It could. 20 moves after the normal. It's like, oh, in this turn, the boss only does 4 moves. It could use 16 Chakra Waves if you really wanted to. You know, that the chances are low, but I have seen like 6 or 7 Chakra Waves in a turn, and it wipes you out. It wipes you out. It wipes you out on a normal turn. On turn 5, it'll wipe you out like super bad because the boss has no breaks at all. And then, of course, there's the AoE physical, which, you know, if you don't have Mirage for, it's going to deal a huge amount of damage to your DPS. And they're going to either just drop dead or trigger guts, etc. And again, he can do this 7 times in a turn, including the turn he has no breaks. So, yeah, on turn 5, the boss dispels himself at the start of the turn, which is another reason you kind of sort of have to do a turn 5 clear to get a rank 1. So the next point was going to be RNG attacks per turn to an excessive degree. We kind of already talked about that, but yeah, the boss can use like 10 plus Chakra Waves in a turn or 10 plus Blade Dances in a turn, and it'll just wipe you out. Like, you can have Abigail, one of the best tank, or the best tank in the game, and she's still going to die if the boss does, like, 8 Chakra Waves. You can't survive that. So, yeah. That's pretty much, you know, another problem. Another issue is damage cap is now effectively 15 billion. So I say effectively because it's not literally. The damage cap is literally just 5 billion. But all these things I'm telling you about, so you need to just kind of sort of avoid turn 5. Of course, on turn 5, if the boss just does a bunch of blade or a bunch of like lethal strikes, single target physical damage, you know, it might kill Esther or something, but, you know, who cares? You can survive turn 5, depending on the boss's RNG. The boss might only do a few single target attacks that, even with no breaks, is okay, or he might go crazy. But it's a coin flip. It's a big coin flip. So that the zombie every 3rd turn, meaning you know, most parties when they get applied zombie, they can just have zombie on turn 4, no big deal. They do set up on turn 4, they kill on turn 5. And by the way, as far as the rank 1s that we currently have, they're either all or mostly copying this clear right here. So big shout out to Eubonic, who got the first rank 1, legitimate rank 1 that is. Yeah, so he got it by dealing 15 billion damage on turn 5 in 1 turn. That is how he got rank 1, by skipping all these mechanics. That is basically the way to rank 1 this fight currently, is by effectively skipping the fight. You turn on Vertex, you turn on Mania mode on turn 2, you do your setup on turn 2 and turn 3. On turn 4, you turn on Chance mode and do your setup, and then on turn 5, you kill the boss. And you just skip everything else. And that's how the people are currently doing the rank 1 strategy. Here's like a damage breakdown that Eubonic was nice enough to share, so you can get an idea. Of course, it's using Mirai, etc. But yeah, so the damage cap is, you know, effectively 15 billion damage, which is crazy. And I can't hit that. I tried. I tried a similar strategy. I did my turn 5 burst. I did like 7 billion with my best units. Of course, I was using Esther. Esther because limited vertex abilities. I had to use Esther. Thankfully, I do have Noctis. So with Noctis, I did 7 billion damage. I did half of what I need to do to kill this fight. So yeah, so that was fun. Another issue is only really one I can't type. Only really one viable element, which is light. Let's go ahead and put that in here. So the boss is, fully weak to ice. So who would be your ice party? It would be like Vretus of the Frost. I guess you would bring... I'm just brainstorming. This is very possibly... I probably shouldn't even do this because someone will say, like, oh, that's not a bad team. The point is the units for ice are not great. And even then, you're still taking Mirai, who is a light unit. Her field is not multi-element, so it kind of clashes. There is no ice plus light in Peril field. If there is, maybe... Oh, Promptos is. Never Promptos is. Yeah, I guess Promptos would work. But anyway, it's an inferior team. And then for Dark and for Earth, the boss is less resistant. Also, the units are a lot worse, and they don't have a Vertex ability skill. They've got Esther, who, at the current time, no one is capped with Esther. So, it kind of sucks. Another issue here is can't control when Mania mode activates. So, Mania mode will activate at 125% morale. And I shouldn't say can't. Okay, I'm putting this in quotations. So, can't. You can technically. Anyway, it activates at 125% morale. So I guess, technically speaking, you could sabotage your morale generation by, like, killing your own units, not using skills, stuff like that, to intentionally not activate morale. But just by generic gameplay, like having, Noctis and, what's her name? Like, Noctis and Sylvie on the party or whatever... Like, you're going to generate 125 morale by turn 2 or turn 3. Just by default. You can't really stop that unless you intentionally go out of your way to sabotage your team. You're going to hit 125 morale by the 3rd turn at the latest. And then Mania mode activates. So you can't really control when it activates. Air quotes, you can't. And that's a problem because... It's just like you don't really want to activate it that early if you're trying to do a longer clear. If we could choose when to activate Mania mode, it'd be a lot better because then you could just like not activate it until like turn 6. That way you could bypass the zombie. You would still be in the regular mode during the turn 5 when the boss is going to remove all his breaks. Then you can maybe survive that, then turn it on turn 6. But that's not realistic because as soon as your morale hits 125, you've turned on Mania mode, and then you're stuck in Mania mode, and that sucks. That sucks. Then also, so the boss heals, meaning, one way to try to get around this 15 billion damage requirement would be to like chip the boss down during Mania mode and try to do a burst on like turn 9. That of course assumes you're dealing with zombie, you're dealing with the turn 5 of the spell, you're dealing with the extreme RNG. But if you do go 9 turns with all modifiers, like you could chip the boss down, but the boss heals. So because the boss is so bulky and you've only really got like a few turns of realistic damage because of all this other stuff going on, the boss is just going to heal back up anyway. He heals 10% per 3 turns. So that's not like a huge amount, but 10% per 3 turns on a 10-turn fight, you're looking at something like a 30% heal. Unless you're bringing like Ayabrea. Or who else does healing down? Melissa? Oh, you're not bringing Melissa because of zombie. So yeah, I guess you're bringing Ayabrea. You could reduce that to a 15% in total heal. But yeah, it's just another thing it's just another roadblock to where trying to chip the boss down. Oh, and the 10 turn time limit is back as well. So you got to win in 10 turns for a rank 1. And yeah, so all of that is just like the reason the only rank 1s you see currently are doing this ridiculously expensive, very, very high-end clear that is doing 15 billion damage by turn 5 using Noctis and Mirai, and usually Prompto. I've seen a few clears that are using like Aven instead of Prompto, but basically the clears are all very similar currently, and it just really sucks that Clash of Wills is turning into, here we go, turning into DV, because it's literally turning into just hit the boss really hard on one single turn, and that's Clash of Wills now. Like the whole trial concept of doing like a slow multi-burst fight over multiple turns, etc. Oh, just as a one more addition, as far as this turn 5 burst, don't forget that these JP damage dealers, Noctis and Prompto, also lose damage permanently after turn 5. So yet again, another reason you kind of, if you're relying on these big heavy-hitting JP units like Noctis, as you can see, Noctis is carrying this. Like his damage goes down after turn 5. So it's basically Dark Visions now. We don't even have Clash of Wills anymore. We just got Dark Visions 2.0. And I never did like Dark Visions that much. And it sucks. And it sucks. So all of this combined is why on Thursday evening, after banging my head against this fight for 4 hours without having Mirai, I got fed up with it. I'm just like, forget it. Forget it. And that's when I recorded that like barely any modifier 2-turn kill video, and that's all I've done with it since then. I haven't touched the fight since Thursday. You know, Friday and Saturday I played other games, and I do realize people said please record like Backpack Hero and all that. I was playing Cyril the whole time. I had a ton of fun. You know, I did not have any frustration with that, like I would have all Thursday evening, or like I did all Thursday evening, as I dealt with this terrible fight. Terrible design, so many problems. And yet, that is why I didn't post another video of Clash of Wills, because they have pretty much ruined the mode, in my opinion. Will they change it? Who knows? But at the current time, it's pretty bad. And while I definitely could do a better clear than the turn 2 clear I did, like, you know, a lot of people are doing, like, you know, rank or level 95 clears, or they're doing like a, you know, more modifier clear, etc. And I could definitely do that and get a higher score, but it's just like, you know, you need the motivation and the enthusiasm to do that, and all of this has killed a lot of the enthusiasm because it's not fun. And the last thing I do want to just address is I have seen quite a few people talking about, why do you care about rank 1? Because the top 1,000 players get the same reward. And I want to give you a really black and white analogy to why it matters, assuming I'm using the term correctly. Okay, so I'm going to use like a sports metaphor or whatever, and it's going to be kind of like, you know, for American, but I'm sure people all around the globe have sports, etc. So imagine you're going to the Super Bowl for football players. You've got the two teams going to the Super Bowl, two different teams, and before the game starts, the referee or whatever, I don't actually watch sports, but the referee tells the two football teams, it literally doesn't matter who wins the Super Bowl, you're getting the same reward. What would people say to that? That is, so every single time a person tells me, why do you care about getting literal rank 1? you're probably going to get the top 1,000 anyway. It does matter to me. That's like telling the two players in the Super Bowl, the two teams in the Super Bowl, it really doesn't matter who wins. Y'all are getting the same reward either way. It absolutely does matter whether you get rank 1 literal or rank 1 pseudo. With if you get rank 892, you're still getting your rank 1 rewards. Well, it matters to me. It matters to me. Even if the reward is the exact same, it matters to me. And not being able to get that rank 1 anymore is frustrating. And now, if I wasn't getting rank 1 because of either strategy or, maybe I just am doing the fight wrong or something, okay, I accept that. And that's happened before. I've definitely missed out on rank 1s when I feel like it was a me problem. I don't feel like me not getting a rank 1 is a me problem. I feel like this is a fight problem. But of course, if you go extreme high-end mode, it is still possible. But I can't do it. And it's not fun for me. So there you go. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the new Clash of Wills. Are you enjoying it? Do you think this is a great change, or do you think this is a bad change for the game? Let's see. See you next time.